subatomic particles that are always constantly moving to the point where they're losing and creating new ions and substances of different formulas in the world of chemistry and physics. Stars are a very good example. Stars are made of energy, or just about anything in the universe that's always constantly moving, and it's creating and losing different forms of ions and, again, substances. Like, for example, the sun moves in space, as well as all the planets that orbit it, its solar system. So within the core of the sun, or rather just the sun itself, the further you go into the core of the sun, the hotter it gets, because that's where most of the friction is being done. So again, friction is when you rub two things together, but they're moving so fast that it creates heat. And because it creates so much heat, that's why the sun is so hot, or stars in general, because they're a source of heat. To make it even more explainable, think of it like this. So the faster the sun moves, and the speed of light, and well, just about anything that creates like this high velocity of heat and friction, essentially what's happening is the subatomic particles, again, like the closer you get to the core, for example, the faster they're moving, because, and I mean, they're still moving regardless, but it's moving so fast that the subatomic particles are creating and losing new ions. So they're bouncing off each other, like all these different subatomic particles that are heat resistant, and they're exchanging new ions, new formulas. This is how like new elements, or not just new elements, but like new it's essentially like within the universe, like you can essentially say that thanks to nuclear fusions, and I want to say nuclear fissions are like sort of the same thing, but they're different though. This is why, like, if we were to take there's infinite combinations of different combinations of ions, subatomic particles, substances, and formulas. For example, like hydrogen and oxygen. H2O, for example, would be a good example. There's water for you. 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, I believe. And then there would be like sulfuric acid or carbon dioxide, just to kind of give you an example, like you would write down the basic formulas and how many there are, and then it just kind of goes from there. Again, elements, the periodic table is a good example to look at. But what's really interesting about all this, though, is when you really think about it, the whole universe is pretty much is made up of nuclear fusions and nuclear fissions, because if it wasn't because of this, then pretty much, everything wouldn't be changing so rapidly and expanding. And that's exactly what happens when the universe expands to the point where, that's why there are so many different combinations of and not just in chemistry or physics, but cosmology as well, and it's just all these different types of combinations and customizations with how many different elements there could possibly be, how many substances, and it's all created because they were exchanging new ideas, or rather new combination and elements. So rather, you could go back a long time ago, when the universe maybe wasn't as big as it is now, maybe there's just so many different more elements that are being created that we don't even know, because they're just exchanging one small particle after another, and you get something different completely. And it's just really crazy to think that maybe DNA, RNA, and all these other forms of energy it's because of that exchange that has really turned this world of existence into something. If you can really see what I'm getting at, it's essentially that kind of explains why there's so many different types of evolution, and how many different types of, it's like different types of exchanging, and different types of growths, and different types of rationalizations that have led different possibilities. Different results lead to different roads, and different combinations lead to different success. And it's not just, that's why everything's not the same. There's just an infinite number of ways of doing things, because just when you think that you've got everything completed, there's always another way you can do it. And that's the great part, is just trying to figure that out. It's how big really can the universe be, and how much space can it really take? it just goes on forever, and it kind of makes you wonder, how is it that we live in that reality? How is it that something like this can just happen? And that's the mind-blowing question. Sorry. Nobody knows. It's just, but that's exactly how it works. It's just everything is made of energy, and it just keeps expanding itself because it's creating more and more and more. And it's not just nuclear fusions or nuclear fissions as well. Again, two different things. There's other formulas that are used to create other formulas. I mean, you know, if you really want to get into it, there have been scientists that were smart enough to create their own man-made plastics because they were able to tweak oh geez, now I don't even know what terminology this is. They were just able to take the chemistry, the physical elements, physical as in like the physical properties, like, you know, like it just proves alchemy is real, like, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. I still call it alchemy. Like, you know, people back in the day used to think that, oh, you could create your own gold. People just didn't know how to do it. But if you could, like, for example, not like fool's gold, but rather, you know, if you were to somehow diagnose like every single subatomic particle for what it really is, if you knew how to somehow make gold, like if you could study like every single property, physical property of like gold, like what it's made up of, instead of just having the earth make it somehow and finding it, you'd be surprised you could make your very own gold just by replicating it somehow with some sort of, not like cloner, but some sort of particle a nebulizer or something like that. If you really, I don't know, it's like something like you'd see on Star Trek, you know. But it's like, it'd be interesting though if, you know, if somebody knew how to make something because they had all the material to make it, then, you know, and seeing how everything's just made of energy and all that, you'd be surprised that, you know, people can make just about anything, and heck, even the universe has been able to make its own creations, considering that it just follows the cycle of acceleration and all this other really cool stuff that, you know, you really don't know exists until you really take a look at it, and then you have a bunch of people that can make sense of this somehow, and this is what they've came up with over the years. And it just goes to show you that even if humans haven't really left this planet, there's a whole dark ocean of stuff out there that we don't even see. You know, the universe is a dark, scary place. There's someone on UrbanDictionary.com, I was reading this the other day, where they stated, and I mean I read this in the past, where they stated, the universe, the scary place where I live, it's just that simple. And I want you to think about that. Because it's because of that that really proves to people why this whole world we live in is just, there's just so much more out there, and yet those are the questions that people have been trying to find the answers for. People have been asking the same questions but have been getting different answers and not even realizing it because there's just not enough information to make sense of it. But it's there though. So again, you know, uncovering every mystery from here on out and every other alien race that's probably out there, and, you know, regardless of what any human believes, we should definitely consider the following, and we should definitely, you know, not be afraid to figure these things out. So again, if you like this channel, you know, comment, rate, and subscribe, and favorite, share this video with everybody. And if you like, you know, science videos, just stay tuned for more, because I make stuff like this all the time.